Right, where am I going to start with this one?
If you like this video, give a thumbs up and make sure to hit subscribe at the end.
Okay, so the first job we are meeting builders on site, and they're going to be digging a hole inside a building to repair a damaged drain. Now, usually I can get this running, so they want me to go there, jet the drain clear, get rid of the sewage, run a camera through to see just how bad it is. We know it's pretty bad already, but hence why they're there. But yeah, they just want to see it for themselves, and then they can do the repair work. That doesn't go quite so well. We've then got some tanks to empty. They're a little bit dodgy in an animal park and camping site. We've got a tank under a cabin to empty, and also we've got an out of hours call out for an overflowing tank that I've got to try and sort out. So if you like the video, please leave a like. If you could leave a comment, that'd be brilliant. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thank you. So you join us at the point where we are just filling the jetter up to jet this drain, but we thought we'll have a go rodding it just in case we can clear it. Now, we've never had issues with clearing this drain in the past, but we know it's collapsing. There's lots of fractures in the pipework last time we surveyed it. So the builders are here to dig it up, but for obvious reasons, they'd prefer that manhole around the back to be clear before they start digging. So let's give it a jet. So we're jetting up on about 2,500 psi. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I've also got a new jetting hose, so that's why my jetting hose is suddenly blue and all in one piece. This drain is quite a long run. Now, in the middle, there is an internal manhole cover. So a little bit later on in this video, we're going to pop that cover up. We're going to push the camera up through the drain run, and you're going to see exactly what the big issue is at this site. So for the first 5 minutes of jetting this drain, not a lot's really happened, until we got to this point, which is where I think the jet is right on the blockage. I don't know if you can quite work out what's going on there, but the jet is crawling forward very slowly and doesn't particularly want to come back, and you might be able to see the water's gone quite a dirty colour in the bottom. So I'm going to drop the pressure and try and pull the hose out, which is quite stuck. But then the hose has started going forward again, so I thought, well, it seems a bit looser now, so we'll keep jetting and hope for the best. And then it stopped again. Something is definitely not right at this point because we've never had this issue all the times we've been jetting this drain. But we know the pipe is collapsing. Bear that in mind. As I say, they're ready to dig it, but yeah, they want it clear. So I'm just letting the forward facer on the jetter play on this point and hoping I'm going to get a sudden rush of sewage. You can see the water's gone a little bit sewagey coloured in the bottom, so I was hoping any second I was going to get that sudden rush and the manhole that we filled up with water out the back will run away. And things started to look a bit more promising that I was going to clear it. At this point I thought I'll let the jetter carry on filling up, we'll switch it off and we'll walk around the back. The whole time I've been jetting out the front, I've had a guy out the back filling this manhole up with lots of water and trying to plunge it at the same time as jetting it. Now, we think it is dropping, but it is trickling away at a push. We've also got this manhole, which is the next one upstream, that's also full of sewage.
It's dropping. So I can see the cement between the bricks now. I couldn't see that a minute ago. Right, it's like millimetre at a time. It just looked like it was suddenly going.
So at the rate it's running, it would take a very long time to empty this manhole, and that's if there weren't people inside trying to fill it back up again.
It's trickling away, isn't it?
At this point we just need to know what's going on inside, so we're going to put the cover back down, we're going to go inside, pop the internal manhole up, and we'll get the camera in there.
Of course I'd do very watery now. How do I do that? I'm not put it in straight.
We are now inside the building, and the builders have recently uncovered this manhole and put a new cover on it. Now they've used the Eco manhole covers. I'd highly recommend these covers, they are brilliant for internal use. I'm glad more people are using them. They come up easy. You get these little keys with them, with the Allen key on them, so you undo the Allen key with the key, then screw the key in with the screw thread, and the covers 9 times out of 10 pop straight up.
So we're getting them out. Just what size? Sorry, I'll do this. Oh, my what size? Oh, no, it's good. Oh my god, full of gravel.
Sorry about the awful quality of the light, I had to use my phone because I didn't bring a torch in or my GoPro light. But this manhole has lots of gravel in the bottom of the channel, which isn't good.
Not covering it up anymore. For a bit of light. There's a jetter. Don't have nothing, does it? You can actually see. That was more nut than anything else. I didn't pull that jet back to a particular place. I honestly think this is collapsed.
So luckily the builders are well aware of the fact they were going to be digging this pipe anyway. But here is what we've seen on the camera. Now, as you can see, it's like 100% full of gravel, there's bits of broken pipe. Yeah, there was just about everything in there, and it just doesn't look good. None of this was in here last time we surveyed it, it just had big fractures all down the side of the pipe. But there's also a weird section, unfortunately you won't be able to see it on this survey, but there's a 4-inch pipe, and I took out possibly about a meter's worth of fractured pipe where it opens up to 6-inch clay pipe. I don't quite know what's gone on there in the past, but the idea was to line it, and it got to the point it was a bit beyond lining. So yeah, this is the situation they're in now, where they're digging it. It's isolated in a particular room, so it's not too much of an issue. They can shut that room off, get the job done in a day, and then reinstate everything after. Of course, this hasn't helped them out. We managed to push that gravel out of the way and get past it eventually, and then we got up to this point. As you can see, there's some more of that broken pipe there and a lot more gravel. So, yeah, still not looking good. I then pushed the camera up on top and you can see just how big those fractures are. Yeah, not good. Right, back outside again, and we are going to pull the jetting hose back out. We discussed it with the builders, and our problem is we don't want to get a brand new jetting hose stuck in a drain, because that never ends well, especially when it's under a building. So, yeah, hose out. We're going to put this cover back down. We've already put the internal cover back down, and we're going to leave the builders to work out what they want to do next. Okay, bit of a spoiler for the next video. We go back in the tanker and we suck the sewage out of that manhole at the back so they can carry the work out. But that's in the next video. So, another job, I'm going to say done. Would you call it done? I don't know. We know what the issue is anyway. So we have to take the van back to the yard, and just down the road from our yard, there is a couple of tanks that we need to empty. So I'm going to jump in the 2,000-gallon four-wheeler Volvo, and we'll go empty that. Now, it's a bit of a dodgy tank. It's, to give you some idea, it's 27 degrees, and I end up having to climb on top of a plastic tank that's very bendy. So, yeah, I don't advise doing that one in the heat. It didn't like the heat. So, quick change of vehicles, and you join me in the four-wheeler Volvo going over a dodgy little railway bridge. And here we are at a local animal park and glamping site. One of our drivers said, when you get here, turn left, the tank's in the hedge. Yes, it's literally in the hedge. Apparently you can get round to the other side of this hedge, so I'm going to chuck the hose up on the top, something like that, maybe not quite like that, get stung to death doing it because this is full of stinging nettles, and then we'll take a walk around the other side. Here we are on the other side of the tank, and I found this little pump chamber, so it pumps from there up into the big black tank up here. So somehow I've got to get up there and open the top hatch. Just remember, it's about 27 degrees, and I'm wearing shorts. And that's a black tank. I couldn't find a ladder handy, so I went and grabbed a nearby pallet, and I'm going to use that to climb up on. If you're liking today's video, why not leave a like and a comment whilst I set this pallet up. You could also subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Like I said, this was a very dodgy tank to empty. If they cut the hedge back a bit and got a ladder, it'd be a lot better. Now, I couldn't quite work out how this tank lid comes off. So, at this point, I decided to get back down and phone the driver who usually does it, who then told me to go get a lump hammer and hammer it. Apparently. Now, I'm not sure why the usual driver does this lid up so tight. Apparently he hammers it back on after. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to turn it quarter of a turn and do it hand tight. But for now, we've got to get the lid off without losing my GoPro in the hedge.
Oh my god.
It turns out I turned it a bit too far.
Oh. That's all.
Whilst I'm up here, I'm going to chuck the pipe down inside the tank. Now, apparently this tank is about 2,000 gallons. It's actually the same size as the truck. I wasn't a fan of being on top of this tank. I was doing it so carefully because the heat has just made this plastic really bendy.
Oh, I'm not standing up here.
The pipe wasn't actually long enough to reach all the way to the bottom of the tank, so I'm going to disconnect it from here, and I'm going to move the truck closer rather than putting another pipe on. Let's get the valve open and we can get this tank loaded. Of course, we've now got to run all the way round to the other side. Now the level is dropping, but not particularly quickly, so I'm suspecting there's something stuck in this hose. Now, I don't know for definite it's even from this tank. It could be from whoever drove the truck last on their last job and they've not realised. But I'm going to stick with it because the levels are dropping and the tank's still bending. So because of the heat, I've come back around this side to get a drink, and I thought I'll just go check on the truck around the back, see if it's showing on the sight glass yet, which it wasn't at this point. Then I realised I think the hose is stuck to the bottom, so I'm just going to pull a little bit of the slack back, just to make sure it's not stuck, because I could hear it sucking on the bottom. The sewage is just starting to show on the sight glass now. Let's get back round the other side and we'll see how we're getting on in the tank. It's still not dropping particularly quick, but I'm not in too much of a rush and it is dropping. Our sight glass is now reading about 1,000 gallons, or as I've now been told to say, 4,500 litres. I don't know what you think, but I'd say we are pretty much full. It's getting there. And, as I'm going to show you now, our pipe's gone light and is starting to kick a bit, which is always a sign that there's not much coming through the hose. So, looks like we're going to be going back around the other side and taking another look. I'm fairly confident this tank sucked right down to the bottom. We empty this one really regular anyway, so if there's a couple of little bits of water in the bottom, it's not going to harm too much. So I'm going to shut the valve and we're going to turn the pump off for the truck. So as you can see, we're at the bottom. There's a tiny little bit in the bottom, but yeah, it's barely even worth worrying about. So we're going to get the hose out and we're going to get the truck empty and then go on to the next tank. And the top of this tank's bending so much that as I go to put the lid on, I knock the GoPro off. Which, it wouldn't be a normal video of mine, would it, if I didn't knock the GoPro over. Do we all agree it makes more sense to put the lid on like that? Let's take the pipe off and we're going to find out why this truck wasn't sucking very well. So we have a rock wedged right in the knuckle of the pipe. Now there's one easy way of clearing that. What we do is we flip the hose around, wedge it in the outlet and open the valve. So we need to put this reducer back on. That sounded like we've got it. Let's turn the pump off and we can get the pipes back on the lorry. So I went off to tip the full load and now I'm back on site to load the second tank. Now I'm just driving down past where we've just loaded the other tank, the one we've just done. Apparently the tank we're after is a very similar style to the other one and I need to go behind this bin. Then there should be a gate, yes. And then we walk along a little alleyway down the back of here and there should be a tank at the end. So that's a bit of a bonus, makes it a bit easier. This tank isn't quite as big as the last one, and it's nowhere near as full, so I don't think this one's even going to give us half a load. But we'll see. At least we got that rock out the way as well, so hopefully this one will load a bit quicker. But it's still 27 degrees and I'm stood by a black tank. The problem I kept getting with this one is the hose rods keep sticking to the bottom of the tank. And then eventually I got to the bottom of the tank. Okay, so I'm going to suck out as much of this as I can. Again, it's not going to be absolutely spotless. The thing is, we empty these probably about once a week. They're filling these up. So a little tiny bit at the bottom isn't going to harm things. So we picked up about 1,000 gallons or 4,500 litres. So that's just done on this site. Right, so we've got one more job to do in the truck. Well, at this point, there's another job coming up in this video, which is an emergency call out. So make sure you stick around for that one. But we have to empty a toilet tank under a porta cabin, so should be a nice quick one. Okay, so a bit of a history lesson for you. I don't know even if people live around here know about it, but I recently found out there used to be a sign on that bank there for the old Cadbury's or Fry's chocolate factory. But we are now at our job, so let's take a look and see if we can find this tank under the cabin. So with that job done, I jumped in the lorry, drove back to the yard, parked it up, and then jumped in the jetting van. I then drove home, only to get a phone call as soon as I got home saying, "Do you mind going out and doing another job? A customer has an overflowing tank." Now, it could be a tanker job, it could be a jetting job, or it could be something a bit more than that. So I went back to the yard and we picked the truck back up. Should we take that one again? Yes, so. Literally only parked the thing there an hour ago. Yep, the car's still there, still not sorted it. If anyone who's in Bristol and they're a mechanic, feel free to sort it. So let's head back out in the truck. One of our domestic customers rang us up, panicking that their tank was going to overflow. So, here I am, and we'll see what's going on. Apparently this tank was recently emptied. Now the way this tank works is it's got two little air valves. Now I think what may have happened is when they've emptied the tank they may have knocked the valves. So I'm going to drop it down just low enough to see what's going on in there. And we'll see if we can adjust that a bit and get it pumping out how it's meant to. I think this level will be just about perfect. I can get to the air valves and it's low enough that it's not going to overfill as I'm doing it. So let's play about with it and see if we can get it running. I can already tell by the way it's bubbling at the bottom there's a little bit too much air going to the bottom, so that's probably the valve that they've knocked. Now, I'm no expert with this style of tank. There's probably some technical way you're meant to do this. But first thing I'm going to do is take this cap off the top. I've shut the bottom valve. And as you can see, the water bubbles out of there. So basically what happens, there's a little air line that goes down to the bottom of that pipe. Somehow it pushes the water up through the pipe and out to the soakaway. Don't ask me how that works. I don't have a clue. If you adjust this little air valve, it lets more air down to the bottom. So if I open that up again, it should start spitting water out again. The trick with this is to get both the valves balanced in the right place so it's spitting out a little bit of water and not majorly bubbling down in the bottom of the tank, just enough to get the air going to get the bacteria doing what the bacteria does. So I kept messing about with the valves on the tank until I was happy with it and thought something was happening. I then got the customer to run some water inside, and as you can see, the sewage had been backing up the line, so it's going to push all that through. And we're going to fill the tank back up to just above that inlet, and then we'll see if the levels are dropping like they're supposed to. Also, this bit isn't very attached, so I'm going to suggest something's done about that. And eventually we got the tank up to the level that you see here. The problem is with these tanks is they only spit out a little bit of water at a time, so it takes an awful long time for the levels to drop. Now, I did slightly mark the edge of it, sorry I didn't record that, and it did drop about half an inch. So I took a picture of it, just to remind me what the levels were. Now, I'm working just around the corner tomorrow. So I've told the customer what I'll do. I'll come back first thing in the morning and I'll double check that everything's working as it should be. I'm fairly happy it's dropping, but just to keep the customer happy, we will come back and yeah, just double check it. We're going to get this truck back to the yard tonight. It's going to be dark by the time I get back. As you can see, the sun's going down already. And then we're going to, right at the end of the video, pop back and we'll see what those levels look like. So it's the next morning and we're back, and as you can see the levels are dropped right down, so everything's working properly. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you could leave a comment, that'd be brilliant. If you haven't already, please subscribe.
Please like and subscribe and leave a comment.
Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.